My name is Brittany Johnson, and I am the owner and face behind the Jamaican swimwear brand Miakalani Swim. Miakalani Swim is a luxury swimwear brand based in Kingston, Jamaica, and also online at www.miakalaniswim.com. Normally, I would spend my days making swimwear and resort wear for my clients, but with the new COVID-19 virus, I have added face masks to my collection. I offer masks for both men, women, and children, and I also do bulk orders for businesses. There has been a huge influx of orders since I started, so much so that I have had to hire help to make them to meet the demand. This has introduced me to a whole new world where business is concerned, and I am taking everything, even the setbacks, as learning experiences. I do plan to keep face masks as a part of my collection even after the COVID-19 virus is over.
Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to episode 5. Can you imagine? We are at episode 5 of COVIDCASTJA. The dramatic economic fallout of COVID-19 has certainly created opportunities for some SMEs. And many of you are watching today and you are wondering, what are some of the things that I can do differently with my business? Today, we're going to be talking about pivoting. Don't be scared of the word. We're going to be talking about the different types of pivoting. What is this concept of business pivoting? And we're going to have with us 3 SMEs, very interesting SMEs that have undertaken different types of pivots. So we'll be joined by Brittany Johnson, who is a swimwear designer, who you just saw in the video, has changed her business, pivoted to making masks. We'll also be joined by Jair Lyons, who is a physiotherapist and a fitness trainer, and we'll see how he has pivoted his fitness business. We're also going to be joined by Simone Banyan, a caterer who has done a dramatic pivot to her business utilizing the skills that she currently has. My co-host today is none other than Nevada Powe, who is the lead architect for the PSOJ Access to Finance SME project. And you know, when we talk about SMEs, we're talking about small, medium enterprises. The enterprises that are the backbone of our economy, the backbone of employment and sustainability for our economy. So COVIDcast has been, we started, this is 5 weeks now, 5 weeks ago, where we talked about the different recommendations that SMEs could undertake at that particular time. This was a week into a partial lockdown, persons working from home. We went on to talk with the banks about the different relief offerings that the banks had. And then we had experts, HR experts, telling us about managing this new workforce in this paradigm. Last week, we were joined by members of the Ministry of Finance and the Care Fund project, and they talked us through the government's Care Fund. This week, we're talking about pivoting your business. Nevada. Now, Nevada is going to use some words here. Don't worry, we'll ensure that he uses
everybody. Exactly.
Just for those of you who have not yet met Nevada, and by the way, my name is Rochelle Cameron. I'm also a part of the PSOJ SME project, and I'm very, very pleased to be your host today. Nevada is actually an international financial consultant. He was educated right here in Jamaica, went overseas, studied at Harvard, worked on Wall Street, and was very focused on the concept of returning home to serve Jamaica. And what a time to be here serving Jamaica. So Nevada, we've had, with this economic fallout, we've seen where various SMEs have come up with new ways of doing the business that they were in, or entirely new businesses. And the words that have been, we've seen different words being bandied about, but what we see is everybody's talking about this business pivot. And some people are asking, like, how come I don't know what this business pivot is? Or maybe I have pivoted and I don't even know that I've pivoted. So can you tell us a little bit about this concept of a business pivot?
Yes. So thank you very much, Rochelle. It's very, very interesting and very nice to have started at the top with Brittany Johnson and the switch in her business. So here is someone whom is doing swimwear. And based on some of the photographs in the video that you saw, actually quite attractive swimwear. But what has happened to our beach weekends? Our beach weekends are not happening now. In fact, the Minister of Tourism came out today and spoke about we need to stay home even though we're missing the beach. So all that Sunday lime and all of that stuff now is dead. One can imagine that Brittany Johnson is not selling as much sexy swimwear as she was 2 months ago, which is the normal course of business. However, if you look at what she already knows, right? She knew how to sew. She knew how to sew quite, her technical skills were quite large. And when we say, well, what's needed now? Nobody's swimming, but now masks are a mandate, right? We're now in a situation where everybody has to have a mask to go outside. So here's what she has done, which is what's amazing. She's taken something which was going to be basically stopped and turned it into a big business. Because right now, and if you heard her at the end, what did she say? She said, I'm even going to keep masks as part of my business as we go forward. So she's actually even completed a new line. The idea of the pivot is when you move from one area of focus, either your target market or your product or your customer or the way you operate, to a completely different area. So in Brittany's case, is she has done what I would call a customer pivot, which meant that she was first selling sexy bikinis to attractive Jamaican women.
Like myself.
And now she's selling masks to pretty much everybody. And in fact, she says man, woman, child. So she's now expanded the focus of her market.
Yes. So where she was sold initially just to sexy people like myself. Now
Right.
selling to a broader customer base.
Yes. The sexy and the unsexy.
And the unsexy. So, Nevada, tell me about this business pivot, because this, you mentioned this is a customer pivot, which suggests that there are different types of pivots.
Yes, absolutely there are. So basically,
types of pivots.
Right. So what we have identified at PSOJ, based on what we are seeing with some of the SMEs, there are basically 6 types of pivots. The first type is what we call the operational pivot, which means you're essentially doing the same business, but you're merely doing it from home. So what is happening? So you think about a lawyer or a social media company or an accountant for a small accounting firm, right? They can actually do what they're doing now, what they used to do in an office, but now everybody's spread out. So their operation is now being run differently. However, they're basically serving the same clients, doing the same type of thing that they did, pre-COVID. So it's still a pivot, but it's not a full, what we call a full pivot. You're still serving the same customers, still delivering what it is that you used to deliver. Basically, it may be a little harder. So let's be clear that even in the move from working in an office to working from home, as we spoke about before, you need different procedures, different ways to make sure people incented. You need to be much more results oriented to make sure that people are as productive. But certainly your business hasn't changed. You've done an operational pivot. So that's one.
So Nevada, in regard to the operational pivot,
yes.
So those persons who their business has now moved from the existing registered location and everybody is working pretty much from home, that is what we call an operational pivot. And in those circumstances, the business is looking to see, because you're looking at performance management, a new paradigm. How do you manage people working from home? How do you check on productivity? How do you keep the business going? So we've seen several businesses do this operational pivot. And one of the questions that people ask is, if I've done like an operational pivot, can I do another pivot with an operational pivot, or is it one pivot at a time?
No, you can it's actually really crucial that you keep looking at your business and do as many pivots as you can if you think that there is an opportunity. So the fact that you may have started with this one doesn't mean you also can't be looking for other opportunities. Although I would say, first, make sure that you've stabilized your current business in this case, because what we're finding is not everybody who has been able to do the operational pivot that easy. I was speaking to one of the small law firms a few days ago, and for example, not having all the files around them has actually created chaos. It wasn't as easy as they thought it would have been, because partly because Jamaica is still very paper based, right? So if it was a law firm in Europe or America, it probably would have been much easier because everything has been scanned and stuff. But this is one of those law firms where there's a mix. So some stuff is digital and some stuff. So the files could be an issue. So make sure first you figure out how to manage in this distributed way. The second issue is you also have to recognize that different people have a different set of skills. And an employee who was very productive in an office setting may not be as productive in the home setting. And also the distractions at home. So all of that stuff you actually have to work through and make sure you stabilize your business. No. Okay. That also means that there's an opportunity for the small firm who knows how now to navigate from home. They could possibly go after your clients. So this is also an opportunity. If you are a nimble SME now working from home, recognize that some of the more established players in your business may be a little off kilter. You know what that means? Competition, right? Darwinian. So time to go in and start to see, well, maybe there are a bunch of unhappy clients with other companies. Who knows, right? But that's one, the operational pivot.
Because we had started with Brittany and the customer pivot. Can we jump back into the customer pivot? And after you've discussed it, we're gonna show another video with a customer pivot. Give us a little description of the customer pivot. I think a lot of persons think that customer pivot is simply just posting on Instagram or Facebook to say this is where a location is. I think it's a little bit more than that. Tell us a little more about the customer.
Okay, so the customer pivot, as again, with Brittany as an example, right? Basically what she has done is refocused her primary market. So we talked about her primary old market.
Nevada, just a correction. I think we've been pronouncing it's Brittany and not Brittany.
Okay, sorry about that. Brittany, right? So her first market was, as we said, the women, and now she has gone to a whole new set of customers, right? A wholesaler who only dealt with retail outlets before, now with a lot of retail outlets closed, might actually decide to go direct to consumer. That is a new customer for them because they've never served consumers directly. And we've heard wine shops and all kinds of things that have started now to go directly to consumer because the regular retail outlets were not the same. We've heard stories of somebody who does online tutoring, for example, who does tutoring, who has now expanded the market because they're now online to talk about tutoring people abroad. So it basically, the customer pivot is now your primary market is not the one that you had before COVID. You are now moving to a new target market, a new customer segment.
And this is pretty much doing the same business that you were doing, but now you're expanding what that customer base is, or actually turning to a new customer base.
Turning to a new customer base. Yes. Because the masks are also a new product. She's still sewing, but she's making another product for a whole new set of customers. Yeah. Or we have somebody, for example, there was a store we have Mac Tours, and what he used to do, he has a series of route taxis, and he used to take people to the airport, drop kids to school, and so on. No kids going to school, nobody coming from airport to go home. What is he doing now? He's doing grocery delivery. So again, he's using his vehicles. But now where he used to serve people who are going to airport and school and so on. Now he's serving people who are at home and need delivery. So basically, again, that's a pivot, an entirely new different customer base with an entirely new different set of needs versus the one that he was doing, 6 years ago.
I think it would be a good time for us to see what Banyan Catering has been doing with Easy Meals.
Yeah.
Introducing Banyan Catering's newest innovation, Easy Meals. All your favorite meals fully cooked, packaged, vacuum sealed and frozen, ready to eat when you are. You can reheat using the microwave, hot water bath, or stovetop. A delicious home-cooked meal ready in 10 minutes or less. Order today at BanyanCateringJA.com and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Banyan Catering.
Yeah, that's another good example. Excellent, excellent. Again, she was a caterer largely. Now, catering, I presume that when you cater, she was serving people like 20 people, 100 people, and so on, right? Weddings, that sort of thing, because that's what a caterer does. Now she's doing pre-packaged meals, much smaller. So she's not doing the big 20-person event anymore because those don't exist, or 100-person event anymore, those don't exist. But she's a very good cook, presumably, right? So now she's pivoted that to value-packed meals. Now, many of us at home are rapidly becoming tired of our own cooking. And therefore, this arrives as an opportunity to try something new, different flavors, different things, and so on, and a different person's taste. And that's also fantastic. And sort of the idea that you could have a bunch of meals frozen and then just take it out and cook it in those simple ways where it's a completely different way of thinking about food versus her thing before would have been waiters, waitress, organizing, go-to-a-thing, catering, which is an entirely different business. So kudos to that as well. So she has shifted her customer.
Yes. And viewers, we're actually going to have both Brittany Johnson from Miakalani, and Brittany, please forgive me for mispronouncing everything. Simone Banyan, also from Easy Meals, and they're going to be telling us about the pivot that they've done. So please stick with us because we have much, much more to come. So Nevada, we've talked about the operational pivot. So pretty much, for example, a law firm or an accounting firm moves their practice where everybody's working from home. That's an operational pivot. Talked about customer pivot. So pretty much using the thing that you did with your previous customers, such as making swimsuits. So the concept of sewing and production of swimsuits or of the preparation of meals, and actually expanding, not only expanding your customer base, but actually creating a new target audience for your product. So we've talked about 2 types of pivots. You mentioned that there's 6. Tell me about another major type of pivot.
So there's what we call the platform pivot, right? Mm-hmm. And here's what that means. You used to, again, you used to have a physical retail store, or used to be part of a gym where people actually go physically to go exercise. Yeah. No, that is no longer part of what you're doing. And you have moved the entire business online. You have changed your sales and delivery platform. I was a gym before, and people would come in and I would give the exercise. Now I'm offering classes online. So my delivery mechanism and the way I'm selling is completely different. So I've shifted the platform of sales and delivery. In that situation, you need things like to figure out online payment. You need to figure out your social media strategy, because that's the way you're going to be selling. You actually know to figure out how you're going to change the service and product slightly, because my guess is, again, for like a gym instructor, when you are in a room with a bunch of people, you can yell, you can take the energy, etc., and so on. Now that you are watching them on online or Zoom or whatever it is, you have to energize yourself very differently. We've also seen, by the way, some big festivals, the Today Tomorrow Festival with the Culture Fest that usually happens in the Grill every year, which has been growing and fabulous, and music and yoga, because of COVID, has moved its entire festival online. An entire hugely different way to deliver as well. But many of you know DJ Nice, which is now the global party to be getting down. Now DJ Nice, you have to go to New York, you have to go to Paris, you have to go to London to be part of his dance concert. No.
Are thinking that Nevada is very international, so he's telling us about New York, Paris, and stuff. Right here in Jamaica on Sunday past, which should have been our Carnival Sunday.
Absolutely, yes.
Road marches going on in people's homes. So pretty much all of the bands had various mechanisms for person to join the road march. So this is a platform switch. So this is truly demystifying how we see business. Because when you think of something like going to working out and having a personal trainer, it's all about physically moving yourself somewhere, or they physically coming to you. So we also have to demystify in our heads some norms that we thought, because the norm is no longer. We are creating
Absolutely.
norms.
Yes.
And in fact, what we're learning is that there are no norms anymore.
There are no norms, or norms to be discovered, right? So here, and again, with the gym thing, again, this is an opportunity, again, to expand your base. Because if you actually are good at getting people motivated using this platform, using the online platform, no reason your customers can't be anywhere in the world. No reason you can't be pushing your product, your gym class, anywhere in the world.
Yes.
So suddenly start to think about it. So the first thing that anybody's going to do, right, when you're moving the platform, you're going to say, okay, how am I going to serve my current customers?
Okay.
And then you make sure that they're exercising, they're doing what they need to do. And then you say, okay, I got a thing. Now I'm going to start to see if I can seek out a broader group of customers in Jamaica and a broader group of customers more all over the world. So this becomes also an opportunity. In fact, it's not a end of the line. It's the beginning of a new line.
And we actually have a video here from Level Up 876, and I think it would be good to see this particular platform pivot.
Yes, great.
Hey everyone, I'm Alexander Carrington, founder and head strength and conditioning coach at Level Up Athletic Training Systems, or Level Up 876. Since COVID, Level Up, like many other businesses, has had to adapt to the new working environment. We've since moved all in-person services to online platforms, where we now conduct all one-on-one sessions, group sessions, consultations, and even physical and dietary assessments, all online for our clients. All personalized training and diet plans have been modified extensively to match the availability of food, space, and equipment our clients have at their disposal at this time. As conditions change rapidly for some clients across the country, Level Up has had to remain agile in delivering the same high-quality service we've been delivering. The transition came with a few challenges, but we've managed to keep our clients on track with their goals, engaged, and very satisfied with the new style of Level Up services.
Oh, that's very interesting. I actually do an online. I go to my classes now online, and it was something I never thought was possible for me to do, but I need to do it. I still go to my trainer, Styles Fitness, Jason Palmer. Today we actually have with us Jair Lyons from 876 CrossFit, and he's going to be telling us about what he has been doing. So
let me ask you this, Rochelle. How has your workout changed? How is it different for you as a customer taking the same class but in a different way? What's changed for you?
So one of the things that I think has been really good about it is that because I don't have to transport myself anywhere, pretty much as whatever space I'm in, I create a space for that workout. And because several of the persons, so say if I used to work out with 5 people, so it was like a crew of 5 of us at a particular time. We're still vibing off each other. We're still seeing each other, and this is our new norm. So we're still seeing and now it's actually the community has actually gotten bigger because we are talking to each other more. So I didn't think I would have been able to switch to something like this. So it would be interesting from Jair, the kind of feedback he's gotten from his customers, but also how much he has had to change in the delivery of his service to keep people motivated. So the other thing that I think would be very good to talk about, I'm very interested, is a collaborative pivot. What's a collaborative pivot all about?
Okay, so a collaborative pivot is when you actually do something with somebody else to expand the nature of the thing that you're offering. So for example, you broaden your product and service offering, so therefore you're able to address a bigger market. I'll give you an example. So you have somebody who was at a taxi company, again, right? Who then starts working with a local farmer to deliver produce. And then the two of them hook up with a chef who will write recipes around the produce that's delivered. So suddenly, think about it now. You're not just getting, so plenty of people out there deliver grocery or deliver farm product. But in this situation, you're not just getting a farm product. You're getting you're buying a combination thing that is attractive in itself. You get the chef recipe to go with the various things that you're buying. You get the delivery. So what you do now in that situation, you promote one package. No complication, no thing. I'm buying this thing, costs $50, whatever it is, $5,000, $2,000, whatever it is, and then it gets delivered, and it's a value add beyond. Or again, a wine shop that says for every meal that you buy from some other thing, Banyan, for example, it would be great if Banyan was with a wine, because that way now I don't have to think about it from the customer perspective. I don't have to make 2 purchase decisions. I can now, when I buy my easy meal or I buy my whatever meal, right there is the offer that says, would you like a bottle of wine with that? I don't need to know necessarily that the wine is coming from somebody else, etc. But the collaborative pivot creates a more complete experience for the customer. I'm working with another SME and we are jointly marketing, we are jointly delivering, and we are jointly offering a new kind of product service together. So that becomes sort of a very interesting way. We can also do, we can cross promote each other, right? Because if you are doing the wine and I'm doing meals, on my website, I can talk about your wine and so on. And on your website, you can talk about my meals. So also,
Nevada, I think because we keep talking about a mindset shift for business people. So it is about understanding too what your business is and who your customers are. So you've reached out, you know that you still have a customer base, and you actually even see a bigger customer base. So for example, professionals may be wondering, you know, I've seen a reduction in my business during this time. I need to improve. So you used the example earlier of a law firm.
Yes.
A law firm says, wow, I really should have gotten a lot of these files digitized. With a collaborative effort, a law firm could actually link up with an app developer, with a technology company, and could offer them legal services that are paid for by the technology company offering to do the digitization. So they could do contracts for them, get all of their contracting together. So I think it really is, you know, when we talk about in this together, it is a way now of doing business that our minds are not just limited to this is what I do and these are the persons I work with, but to ask yourself, what are the additional elements that I need now, but also what am I also going to need in the future that I can work on now? So collaboration is tenfold, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. And remember also, you could become a lead generation person for somebody else. So if you're an accountant, for example, and you are working with your client, or you're a financial advisor and you're working with your client, in that situation, or you may want to create a relationship with a bank, and then identify our relationship with a couple of banks and identify what type of business situation is any particular bank interested in. And as you work with your clients, you may say, by the way, I have this package from Scotiabank, from GMMB, from whoever that also would actually fits your situation. Let me provide an introduction, some kind of commission, some kind of lead fee or something. Again, think very deliberately about who your customer is, what it is that you're selling, what do they trust you to recommend? Because that's also critical, right? It can't just be the person I'm buying meals from or exercise from. I'm not necessarily looking for them to recommend a financial services relationship, right? But so think about what, given the trust that you have built up with this particular person, what else could be you could be working with to sell them as well? Because the more you minimize the client relation, the number of relationships that the person has to touch, you make it much, much easier. Because if I can buy many things from one source, it starts to be, there's so much stress already. Everything is easier if somebody comes more one-stop shop. If you figure out a way to offer stuff for you, that's fantastic.
Exactly. So there is also the complete business pivot.
Yes.
That sounds hard. What's a complete business pivot?
Okay. This takes a lot of emotional strength, because what it basically says is the thing that I had committed to, the thing that I was very sure that I was going to do is actually potentially no longer relevant. And therefore I need to completely just think about something totally different. So it could be, this is an easier situation, for example, if you had just started your business within the last 6 months and a year and you hadn't quite gotten traction, you might be in for a complete business, to consider a complete business pivot. Or if you've been struggling for years with your business and it hasn't really been profitable, yes, you're feeding yourself, but it's not really been anchoring, you may also be in line for what you call a complete business pivot. Or your business wasn't even losing money, or you're not yet heavily invested. These are the kinds of situations. Or, to be honest, you could just see an opportunity and suddenly say, boy, why am I going to keep struggling with that thing, right? I was a craft shop that was at the port that was very dependent on the cruise ships coming in. That the business now come back for now, right? So let it go. You have a little savings from the old business. You have a little something going on. Now let's see something completely different, right? And we talk about the pest.
Let's look at an example, because I think when we see this next video from Zane Pest Solutions, it will help, because this really is, as you say, it's an emotional detachment from the business that you had planned before and you were involved in, and what kind of detachment are you willing to make? So let's look at this video from Zane Pest Solutions.
Hi, I'm Jody from Zane Pest Solutions. We are now offering cleaning and sanitization services due to the decline in demand for pest control service in Jamaica since COVID-19. We know we had to be creative and innovative as to how we are going to adapt to current changes. And sanitizing, we know, is one of the ways we can help reduce the spread of the coronavirus. So what we have done is to leverage our assets and resources and align them to our current situation and needs. We are definitely getting a lot of inquiries for the sanitization services. So it looks promising that the demand for the service will increase.
So Nevada, that's an example. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your views on this kind of business pivot.
It's actually fantastic, because it's very hard to do, because as we talked about before, the emotional attachment, because every SME knows that their business is like their baby. So you kind of say that I'm swapping my child for another. And very often SMEs will also keep sinking money into a business that honestly is not necessarily worth it. But it could have been my father. It was my father's business. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been doing this it's what I love, all of that stuff, which is relevant. But at some point, you have to give the hard look and say, you know what? That particular thing really may not be appropriate now. So it's incredible. So pest thing, maybe a lot of people not doing pests, but certainly cleaning. Cleaning is now going to become our obsession. And that business is actually going to, even after COVID, is going to keep growing, because right now, everybody wants to know how everywhere is being cleaned. Questions that we never asked before. We just assume that somebody's cleaning it. But no, we will have,
yes,
we want to know. We're going to have things like the same way we had Intel Inside, which is a piece of technology. Around the world, there are going to be cleaners where it's going to be certified, cleaned by this particular company. And we would look for a branded cleaner. So if I'm choosing a hotel, if a hotel tells me they're cleaned by, Service Master or whatever it is, that will have a different tone than one that said, well, we're just cleaning ordinarily. So
so it can now become an industry standard, a certification, because this now matters to us.
This matters to us where it didn't matter, 2 months ago. It didn't matter to us. No, it's a real thing. So big up on her that she's shifted here and started to become a cleaning service.
And actually, what I think is interesting, because the last pivot that we're going to talk about is the asset pivot, because it to me like she may also be using some of the assets from her previous business, the suits, etc., the know-how, the skill set, with actually using pests. So that's a business pivot with a potential an asset pivot. Just tell us a little bit about that pivot.
The asset pivot now. Every business has a set of assets, whether they're soft or hard assets. So you have to think like you have the brand, you could have a website, you could have a storage facility, you could have a set of trucks, you could have some purchasing contracts, you could have a team, some skilled team members, right? So you have anything that you have that are assets. Assets are the things that you're using in the business to make your business run. Now, your utilization of those assets, how much you're using those assets because of COVID has actually slowed. So you don't use your delivery trucks as often. Not much is you know, if you have your physical storage space and you don't have as much storing in there, etc. Okay. You have to then think about your business, not as the entire business, but as these units of assets that you have. So for example, if I have a warehouse, I may actually want to sublet portions of that warehouse to make money. So it's not about my business, the business that I'm in. It's that I'm breaking up my assets in a way that can I sell it? Or imagine if I have trucks, which usually deliver only my goods.
Yes.
Suddenly, I can rent truck capacity to somebody else to use my trucks. Or I have a website that actually works pretty well. I'm usually selling my own products. Why not invite 2 or other 3 people to just put their products, again, assuming it's customer similar, to put their products on my website for a fee, for a commission. So what I'm doing is renting the assets of my business.
So
I would essentially be in whatever the core business that I'm in. In addition, I'm in a rental business. So I'm renting out all the kinds of things. Or for example, suppose I have a company with 3 tech people and they do a particular kind of thing. But I could also they build product for me and for my company. Now, one of the things I could do is rent their capacity to somebody else who needs tech people. So my business is now not only the core thing that I do, say it's building apps, I'm also renting some of my team members as tech experts to other companies. So that's what we call the asset pivot. So it's beyond that's when you think not about your business, but you look at the assets of your business. Or it could even be something simply as your brand. If you have a good brand, let's say of men's clothing, and you have a lot of loyal customers, right, who are out there who buy your men's clothing, that could be a very good way to also sell some of the online services. That this is our online exercise services, right? This is the recommended exercise person. He wears our clothes. We like this stuff. It's co-branded very well. So what you're doing is selling your brand as part of the offer. So the idea
this is really an opportunity that a lot of SMEs can possibly have to look at even assets now that they think, look, I've invested all of this money into this particular asset, but they haven't necessarily thought of the different ways that they can monetize this asset that can actually become a new business. Exactly. So let's talk about the operational pivot, which is where you have the same line of business, but everyone is working from home. A platform pivot, which is a new way of delivering sales and service. The customer pivot, entirely new customer focus. The collaborative pivot, working with another business to jointly deliver a new offering. The complete business pivot, where you're starting a completely new business. And the asset pivot is renting out the assets that you have in your current business. So this is just a synopsis of the different types of pivots. And viewers, just to remind you, my name is Rochelle Cameron, and I'm joined today by Nevada Powe, who is lead architect for the PSOJ SME project. And we have with us, and I like to say in studio, because even when we're online now, we're in studio, we have with us 3 SMEs who have done very interesting business pivots. We're joined by Brittany Johnson of Miakalani Swimwear, and she has pivoted her business to mask. Hi, Brittany. Brittany, am I correctly pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, you are. It's Brittany.
Yes. Wonderful to see you, and our viewers are very excited to hear about your products. We're also joined by Simone Banyan. And Simone is of Banyan Catering and Jamosas, and now she's of Easy Meals. Hi, Simone, how are you?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome to our show. We are also joined by Jair Lyons of 876 CrossFit. And Jair, Dr. Jair Lyons. Welcome to Pivoting Your Business COVIDCASTJA.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and we're really glad that you could take some time to spend with us this afternoon to share with other SMEs the kinds of business pivots you've done. So let me actually start with the gentleman. Jacob, you operate fitness business, which is a lot about personalized training.
So,
Can you tell us about your business pivot?
so what we do is we do classes. So we are a class-based fitness program, CrossFit, and we are used to running in-person classes of about 10 to 15 people, 5 classes per day. But now we've moved away from that and put it online. So we're now running 2 classes per day, one in the morning, one in the evening, and the numbers are the same in terms of people attending. The regular membership that we had in-house are just migrated online. As well as being online, it has actually allowed us to have those past members who may have migrated or other people, new people who want to join us for a workout, whether in the States or in the UK or whatever, have joined us now in our workouts and things like that. So I heard Nevada talking about that, and it's something that actually has happened where our reach is even further now because of this pivot.
Okay, so in terms of how you deliver your service,
Right.
your service is what have you had to change with how you operate and deliver your services?
So in the gym, we had equipment to work with: barbells, plates, dumbbells, kettlebells, etc. One of the things that happened initially is that we didn't have the people at home didn't have the equipment to work with, so we modified. They used household items, things that they had. Some had dumbbells, some didn't. So we took a step further and offered a rental service for our equipment. So the smaller equipment, like the dumbbells and kettlebells that we could part with, we rented them out to the members who wanted, and they now are able to take part in the workouts. So the workouts themselves have changed a little bit in terms of what we can and can't do at home, but we are finding new ways to get things done properly and the way we used to. It's not the same, but again, we have to evolve. So we've changed up a lot.
Nothing is the same.
Nothing is the same. Exactly.
Nothing is the same. So in fact, what you have done based on the discussion that we had before, it's a platform pivot,
yes,
a customer pivot, because you actually are attracting new customers, but also very interestingly, an asset pivot, because some persons wouldn't have had some of the equipment and you're able to rent it out.
Right.
That is fantastic. So let me bring Brittany into the discussion. Hi, Brittany.
Hi, how are you?
Tell us a little bit now about your business pivot, the why behind your business pivot, and what have you seen change with your business?
Sorry, what was the last part of the question?
What have you seen change with your business? Don't worry, if you don't remember that part, I'll ask you again. So let's tell us about what you've done with your business.
Well, I initially started selling swimsuits. That's actually some of them behind me. I don't know if you can see.
Yes.
Hanging up.
No.
And I sold them from here, my showroom. And also online, I'm at Miakalani.com. So I actually ship internationally.
Okay.
Nobody's buying swimsuits now because for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. So I decided to sell some face masks. I decided I can already sew, so I decided to make face masks and sell them. And these are some of the masks I have in stock at the moment. Yes. And when I just started, pardon me?
How long have you been doing the masks?
Hello?
How long have you been doing masks?
About 5 or 6 weeks, I think. So when I just started, I thought it was going to be like a trickle here and a couple orders there, and orders just came flooding in. So I actually had to hire some people to help me sew the masks because I can't handle the demand on my own. So it's been a real learning experience, a bit stressful, but it's a good stress. It's a good problem to have that kind of demand.
Yeah, and so, now that masks are mandatory, your customer base and has grown even more.
Yes, it has grown tremendously. People that never knew who I was before are now ordering masks. So I'm using that also as a way to collect data.
Yes.
And also contacts. So when I do finally start to sell swimwear. I mean, I'm actually still selling swimwear. I'm getting a few orders here and there, but it's mostly the mask. So all the contacts that I'm making, I'm keeping them in a spreadsheet to use those in the future.
Okay, and I think that's a very important point that you're making, that you are now getting a wider customer base, so you're not just seeing them as mass customer base, but you're also keeping a record of these customers. And in fact, collaborate with Jair so that when the people them get their summer bodies, they can buy.
Yes, Jair, we need to talk.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And that takes us now into meals, because Simone, I am tired of my own cooking. I am tired of it. Easy meals, tell us about that.
Hi, everyone. So, our business traditionally we cater to corporates because we do lunches for our corporate clients on a daily basis. And as you know, we do jamosas, which is the manufacturing side of the business, which we cater to um, retail as well as the tourism sector. So as you know, everybody's now working from home. Tourism is at a standstill, so we had to think quickly. And the truth is, to be honest, it's a direction I've been wanting to go in for a while. I actually did a dry run in Christmas because people wanted Christmas dinner, but I wasn't working on Christmas Day. So I offered prepackaged Christmas dinner. So it, that seemed to have gone well. So it was kind of in the back of my mind to be doing these prepackaged meals, because the truth is, I mean, not everybody, even though a lot of us can cook, a lot of us don't want to cook. A lot of us, we lead very busy lives. I run a business. I mean, especially if we have children, by the time you come home, you're tired. You don't want the fast food. You still want to give your family a healthy option. And so it's a direction I've been wanting to go in, but just really and truly, honestly, never had the time to sit down and think it through. And I had to do it in all of 2 weeks.
And Simone, I really think that's a very important point that you made, that you had to do this in 2 weeks. Because I want to have a discussion with you all now, because there's some SMEs that are saying we're 5 weeks in and I still cannot figure out a business pivot. What was the kind of thought process that you went through, that you identified the change that you could make? And normally we go through a business plan and we work through all kind of accounting. What was your process with this kind of dramatic business pivot? Jerry, you want to start?
So initially it was a bit scary because we weren't sure of whether the problem was going to be solved fast or whatnot. What was important for me was that I kept continuity with my members so that they wouldn't feel like they're lost and have their usual routine isn't thrown off completely. Exercise is a big part in a lot of people's lives, and knowing that and knowing my members, I quickly tried to remedy the solution. Initially, we started out with just making sure they were supplied with available workouts that they could do on their own. But when I checked with them, none of them were doing the workouts because they didn't have that coach or the people person in terms of working out with their friends, and which is a big draw for them, for us. So we quickly went online, and the first couple of classes were empty, but at the same time the vibe was still there. And that continuation of the vibe that they had when they were in-house quickly allowed them to, come back in and start working out once again. Okay. So, it was more for the continuity for my members that drove me pretty quickly to make those changes,
Okay. So that's some important points you've raised. So knowing our customers is very important. And I know the CrossFit family is a family. I know
Right.
you've grown that family.
Right.
So your customers had to matter to you. You needed to know your customers. You kept in touch with your customers. And when you launched first, you mentioned that the first couple of classes were empty. So you
Right.
didn't give up. You have
Yeah.
to keep going at it. And I think those are important points when we're talking about a business pivot. Like, let's not think it's just going to be magical, that the change will be immediate, but we have to be dogged in our approach. And it is very important too that we have been keeping in touch with our customers. And Brittany, when you started with the mask, because mask, we're talking about a few weeks ago, I would not have been caught dead wearing a mask on the street. I mean, I did not see this as an accessory. And no, masks are a part of our daily attire. When you had to make this switch, what caused this switch, and who did you start out with? Your existing customers, or did you just go to mass market?
Sorry, you said when I had to make the switch, what?
To the mask? What caused you to make that switch to the masks?
Well, it was actually a friend of mine that had encouraged me to do it. I made one for myself and I sent her a picture and she's like, yes, that's amazing. You need to make a flyer and send it out to everyone. I was like, okay. So I just made a flyer and it actually got to my pediatrician, or who used to be my pediatrician, and she sent it to all of her contacts. And then that's when everything started flooding in. And of course, Instagram and Twitter and, social media. And then people forwarding it and it reaching everywhere. And yeah, and my phone just never stopped ringing. It's actually ringing right now, but I'm not gonna answer it.
And so you have developed a whole new customer base, and
Yes.
in fact, you started building that customer base before masks even became mandatory. So you were ahead of the game. Simone, for those of you who don't know, Simone Brandt is actually she's also a new food award winner for Food Awards, the Jamaica Observer Food Awards with Jamosas. And Jamosas is a frozen product. So you actually utilize some of the existing assets of your business for this new line of business.
Correct.
So what was
Right.
that for you?
So as I mentioned before, it was in the back of my mind to, because I'm in the process. I have been the plan, really, we were on schedule to be scaling Jamosas.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in the process of acquiring equipment and stuff. So the existing equipment that I had, so for example, I needed a vacuum sealer for the Jamosas. So I already had that. So it wasn't a big thing to kind of switch into to using it for these frozen meals.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the freezers already. We have the vacuum sealers. We have our suppliers. So, it was an easy call up to say, hey, I'm going to need XYZ in such time. And I kind of I think for me, one of the biggest things is I still haven't had to lay off anybody fully. So I've been trying for their life to kind of hang on. So I stagger them. So maybe 2 days I have some coming for Jamosas. Funny enough, we actually just started a social media campaign on Jamosas, I think the same week that COVID started. So
Yes.
there's a lot of traction on social media for Jamosas. So I had persons coming in like maybe 2 days for Jamosas, and then I had another set of persons coming in to do the frozen meals. So I've been trying to juggle. I mean, we're kind of in a predicament now because most of my staff live in St. Catherine. Right now, if persons go online, most of the popular items are almost finished or finished. But hopefully, we'll work around that soon. But
Okay.
sure,
So that's
this is
some good problems to have, though. Yeah, because you have.
yes.
So in fact, what I'm going to ask all of you to think about, we do have a poll that we're going to run shortly, that we're going to show you the results of shortly. But I actually want all of you, when we come back to you, to what word of advice would you offer to your fellow SMEs in regard to pivoting based on your experience? So can we have that poll now? Well, until we
Yes.
get, oh, Nevada.
Rochelle, hey, yes. So we ran a poll, active poll, and we basically asked the question, have you pivoted your business since COVID? So 39% of the people actually said yes, which is good. 22% of the people said no. And then another 39% of the people said, I think I should do it, but I'm just not sure how to. Right, that idea of the guidance. So one of the things why we're doing this show to talk about the theory and the practice, actually having some of the SMEs here, is to try and again to trigger that conversation in people's minds around, well, maybe there is something I can do. Because Rochelle, the thing that we're hearing more and more is, what should I do? What can I do? And I really think these guests that we have are really inspirational. And I really like the fact, for example, in many situations, it don't start out fantastic. You have to keep pushing. Or in one situation, you had the one friend who was encouraging and say, yes, send it around. Sometimes that's what we need to, right?
Exactly.
To be a positive voice in somebody's head that says, you know what, try this. Try something different. I can see this. And, other than that, so it's really, really fantastic. So it'd be fantastic from these guys. What was it that created that impetus in your mind? That what advice would you give to somebody else who says, I just don't know how to do it? I think I should be doing it, but I don't know what or how.
So, Jair, do you want to start out for us? What word of advice would you give to an SME who is asking, how do I do this pivot?
I mean, you have to just size up what you have there and decide if you want it to continue, because it is not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart, because you're taking yourself completely out of your normal framework. Just keep pushing, it wasn't easy and it wasn't comfortable. And you have to understand that this might now be the new norm. And there is no end in sight. So you can't just sit and wait until somebody says, okay, 2 weeks, we're going to be good. Because initially you heard 2 weeks and the end of the month, and then it keeps extending. So you just have to make the move now if you want to continue, and accept that this might be the new norm. So you have to now figure out how to operate within this new norm. Okay. And that's pretty much it. You have to just say, this is where we are now. Let us make it work. Yeah. Okay.
Simone, what word of advice would you give?
You certainly can't be. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you now.
I would work with what you have, because to start over from scratch is very daunting at this point in time. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know how we're going to fare on the other side. So you don't want to be spending too much of your cash. I like what Nevada had spoken to earlier about collaboration. So just yesterday, a customer said to me, do you offer desserts? So now I'm going to be looking to partner with people, small businesses that do good desserts that I can, put on my website, because I actually had to do a website. I mean, I knew I needed a website like 4 years ago, but again, I was procrastinating on it, and I had it done in 2 weeks. So I now have a website that it's not e-commerce yet. You can order online, but we are working on e-commerce, so that should be completed within maybe 2 to 3 weeks. And so I will have the ability to put other products. So I love the idea of the wine, so I'm going to reach out to somebody. So there's the wine, there's the desserts, and then there are other things that I mean, being in the industry, you know that there are people who do certain things well. So while I might not be able to take all of your products, I know that you do a wicked sorrel jam or sorrel jelly or something, you know. So I may create a specialty area on my site to accommodate, you know, other businesses and other people in the industry.
And so that's some excellent points, Simone, with collaboration. Brittany, you are a young business person. What lessons have you learned, and what advice would you actually give to another SME? Brittany, you're on mute. We're hearing you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so my advice would be to put everything online and utilize social media.
Okay.
Rochelle.
Yes.
Yes, we had another poll that we did. By the way, love what the stuff are coming from Simone as well about, you know, the collaborative thing, right? And now she's able to offer a full meal with wine and dessert. Exactly. So do you already have a website for business to do online sales?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have a website that I'm happy with, 22% of the people. Yes, I have one, but it needs to be improved. 33% of the people. Remember, very often, especially if online wasn't our main, we did just kind of put up a website.
Mm-hmm.
Now we put up a website.
Construction.
Exactly. So now we may have to up our game and we have to do a little investment in terms of the type of website. Another 22% said no, and I need a website because I never did it before. And then another 22% said no, I don't have one, but I don't actually need one. So the biggest group, 33%, is I have a website, but it's really not working for me. I need to improve it because I didn't put up one in a sort of proper way. So that is
yes. I know we could collaborate. But I think we got some really good nuggets. Jair mentioned that you have to keep pushing and make the move now. Because I think a lot of times we procrastinate with the move. We're like, next week COVID going to be finished, end of month COVID going to be finished, so I'm not going to make the move. And Jair, very good points. Keep pushing, make the move now. And you have to ask yourself, do I want this business to continue? So what am I willing to do to make this business continue? Simone talked about collaboration, utilizing the various assets that you have for the business, and you can hear the innovation coming. One of the things too that she mentioned is that she had been planning to do a website. You know, you fix up the website always under construction, you have two little pictures. And in 2 weeks, she got that website done. And one of the things that we have to remember is that we cannot let perfect be the enemy of the good. Just get it done, because sometimes we're waiting for this level of perfection that will never come. And what we need to do is fix that plane while it's flying, because this thing is not going away anytime soon. Brittany made some excellent points going online. I'm particularly moved by the inspiration that you got from your friend, because sometimes, in fact, some of our best customers are the people that know us and they're pushing us along a particular direction, but we're unwilling to go that way. So we do need that caring squad, and what she now has is a business that can take her forward, but that is also building out a massive customer base from her existing product line. So, guys, I must say you are all inspirations to us all. We're talking about some dramatic business moves over a very short period of time. Jerry, I'm sure when you're launching CrossFit, it did not take you 5 weeks to put all of those things together. You're now renting out equipment. Who would have thought that was possible? So we just want to again congratulate Britt Johnson from Miakalani Swim.
Miakalani.
Sorry.
Yes.
Miakalani Swimwear, who is now one of our premier makers of masks, and we can look for great things from Brittany over the years to come. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Simone Grant from Banyan Catering for Easy Meals. I'm looking forward to my Easy Meals. You're using your assets of your business, using your customer base, and innovating. Dr. Jair Lyons 876 CrossFit. I know my arm's not looking so good, but I'm going to come and make it look better. Really, we're particularly motivated. We have to keep pushing. And I know even as you are pushing your customers, your clients for fitness, we are doing the same thing to keep businesses fit. You've got to keep pushing, get up and get moving right away. So thank you very much to our guests. And we're wishing you all the best. Remember, support our local SMEs. Buy Jamaican, support our local businesses. We have to keep them going. So we're very grateful to have you guys on, and we're wishing you all the best. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Wow, Nevada.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
We have another poll, Rashi. Do you now understand the 6 ways to pivot a business?
Mm-hmm.
And about half the people said yes, and half the people said no, which is fine. We're going to repeat we started, right? So we've basically identified 6 ways in which you can pivot your business.
Mm-hmm.
There's the operational pivot, which is you're in the same line of business, but you're just working from home. There's the platform pivot, where you find a new way of delivering sales and service. So you basically went from physical to online, right? There's the customer pivot, where you have an entirely new customer focus. For example, the wholesale, as we said, going direct to the consumers. There's a collaborative pivot, which we got a lot of examples of that. You have meals, you hook up with a wine person, you hook up with a dessert person, you work with another SME to jointly do a new offering. There's a complete business pivot, where you're starting something completely new, in no way related to the original one, and you give up the emotional attachment and just move forward. And there's the asset pivot, where you actually are renting out the specific assets of your business directly, like your website or your storage facility and so on. We would be very interested if anyone has questions, because we want to make sure that we are triggering ideas, triggering suggestions, that when you're sleeping tonight, when you're writing down, what am I supposed to do, that this becomes one of the things that you actually consider. A lot of people said they'd never heard it before, they'd seen versions of this before. So we at the POCJ now are trying to say, how are we going to survive? How are we going to thrive? And one of the ways we identify is the businesses that are thriving are those who have said, I'm not going to just, woe is me, what am I going to do? I'm actually going to engage very aggressively in pivoting my business. We see a lot of doctors, for example, now doing telemedicine, right? Seeing somebody this way online and asking questions and stuff, and, building, keeping their practice that way, changing the platform in which they deliver. So again, yes.
Nevada, I actually, as you were speaking, something was triggered to me. If we go back to our very first episode, and for those of you who didn't watch it, it's available on this on our Facebook platform, and we would encourage you to rewatch that video, and we'll in fact be circulating some of the information from it. Nevada, you had gone through a series of questions, because you said as businesses went to their banks, and as they pivoted, there were certain questions a business needs to ask itself. So a business needs to understand, what business am I in? Who are my customers, etc. And sometimes too, we are not sure how to pivot our business, because we're not quite certain what that business is. So Nevada, I want you to comment on that. And then we do have a question. What advice do we give to those who have rent to pay and we're not able to use our locations? Because I think that ties back into that story.
The first conversation, right? So one of the things, there are many answers to that question. Let me just from our first conversation. You're in a space that you're actually not using, and presumably you were paying rent before and so on. Two sets of issues. One is, have you had the conversation, which we said in our previous thing, have you had the conversation with your landlord? Again, that conversation is, I have been a good payer for the last 2 years, 3 years, etc., etc. And you recognize that because it has been furloughed, not through any fault of my own, I'm now home. What kind of arrangement? They're certainly not going to be able to move you out at this particular time, right? There is going to be no possibility of them bringing somebody else in. Nobody's going to actually take over the rental space at this particular time. So the possibility of you being able to negotiate, especially now, is quite large. And the question is, can I get some kind of concession, half, all, some, whatever it is, until such time as we're able to move again. So that's one thing. Separately, depending on the location, depending on how it's set up, depending on all kinds of things, could you be storing somebody else's stuff there? I had a situation where somebody is now storing stuff just at my house. It's for a friend, but because where they were storing it before, they're concerned that that area is at some point may not be as safe as, because there's nobody in the area now. So then beg me to so in the back here I have a whole bunch of stuff being stored. I don't know in a particular area whether or not that was something Judy could consider. But certainly the first conversation is with the landlord. The second conversation is what else could be being done in that space or kept in that space that what you were not able to do before. We talked earlier about the person who has a cold storage facility, and certainly nobody want to put a JPS bill now. So consolidating a lot of people's inventory that requires cold storage, medicines, this, that, would also be of interest. Yeah. The whole thing about the story now, right? We talked about this whole idea of the story. So what was your business before? What has happened to you since COVID? And what are the things that you have done to try and survive, right? Whether it is that you've cut costs quite aggressively, whether it is that you have pivoted and tried to do something else out of your space and so on. That is part of the narrative, the part of the story that you're going to be taking to the bank. By the way, in a situation, for example, where somebody was making swimsuits and going to mask, that is a story that is completely financeable. You got to talk to a business bank about that story, and you need some extra material. You need working capital to buy some material or some other things. That is something any bank now in Jamaica would actually help you with, because that one, it shows initiative on the part of the SME, but also here it is that you're presenting a viable option given the capabilities and skills that you already have, and you have a way to sell, right? Yeah. We also want to mention that people don't realize, technically again, that WhatsApp, so there's social media, Instagram, Facebook, and so on, but also WhatsApp is also a selling mechanism. Much of what I end up buying now is through a friend having recommended something through WhatsApp. Mm-hmm. So the idea of creating a graphic, don't just throw something up there and say, buy this thing, right? Think very deliberately, what do you want? I'm going to create a graphic that visually looks good, and that somehow people want to send on. And what do I want to send on to my friend? If it's an amazing deal, I want to send it on. If the graphic look good, so if you're selling food or whatever it is, and the thing look good, I want to send it on, right? So don't just slapdash pick something and say, all right, let me send it to my address book. No, what it is that you want, every time you send out a WhatsApp with your business, you want to make sure that it will be passed on. And that becomes a crucial part of the new way of marketing.
Because Nevada, I think as we're talking about pivoting and with the various SMEs that we've been talking to, we've seen people do it very well, and some people are still a bit stuck. And one of the things that we're encouraging you to do, there is a moment where you do step back and you do have to ask yourself certain questions. Yes. So you need to know the business that you're currently in. But we also want to add to this. You have to ask yourself, what problems do people have now that I can solve with the existing services I have? So I have particular assets that can help another business serve their customer. So that business now becomes my customer. So I would need to know what my assets are and how they can serve a wider community. I need to know who my customers are, but I also have to be willing to see this as an opportunity to grow my customer base, not only locally, but overseas. And then I have to say to myself, I don't necessarily have to have the whole hog, because a piece of a big hog is a good piece of hog.
Yes, so, yes, absolutely.
How can I collaborate with these other three businesses to deliver a valuable finished product to the customer? So all of us get a piece of this business and this business grows. This is now an amazing time for persons who are graphic artists to start thinking, reaching out to people. You on their Instagram page, their graphics don't look good. Often show them how you can, in fact, do the graphics for them.
Exactly. So you as a graphic person, you get a graphic from a business. And you say, boy, I can improve this. Improve it and send it back to them. I said, why did you hire me to do your graphics? Exactly. But we have to be in this mode. It's really this open mind mode. That really is crucial. That you're looking almost like a dog sniffing for opportunity everywhere, right? What is the opportunity? And how am I going to get it? And also speed is crucial. What I'm finding, of course, we're tired. Of course, all of us feeling like depressed and stuff. But remember, everybody out there hungry now. So you cannot wait for the opportunity. You have to see it, move, go. See it, move, go. So this is also a time that you need to be energized, even if you're not feeling tired, this, that. You have to be particularly energized because a lot of people looking for business, and a lot of people are going to be hungry to go out there. We have a question about: is there a seventh pivot, a management style that pivots a different way to manage people? That is not so much a pivot. There is a style of managing people that's very different when you are in person versus trying to manage people at a distance. The benefit of in-person management is that the fact of everyone being there in the office creates its own dynamic system. So you can go away for a 2-hour lunch as the manager because the employees are also watching themselves. And therefore, you can even half manage because it's not only you managing, but other people also managing each other, right? Everybody I'll be embarrassed to be on Netflix, as I said, at work, because everybody kind of watch it, right? At home, this is where you have to reach into the person's house, but not literally. And that's why we say, when somebody's working from home, you have to be more results oriented. So don't worry so much about what anybody's doing at a particular time, because that you are never going to be able to manage. And I'm going to be able to fool you 100 ways. However, I will say, Rochelle, can I get the presentation by the end of the day on Friday? If you want to do it Friday morning, stay up late Thursday night, do it in the day, watch Netflix, and then fine. Focus on, don't get obsessed about, I want if Rochelle working now. I want if Rochelle working now at 3 o'clock. Who cares? Did Rochelle get the presentation done for a particular time? Therefore,
this is a whole new way of leading. I think we're going to have to do a show on this because this is not necessarily how we've been trained to lead. So this is true leadership, because this is some leadership in adversity. And it's how we manage people and their performance and keep them motivated when they're not seeing us face to face every day. We really are going to need to talk about this. And it is, so I actually think we do need to just go back through our pivots. Can you take us through our pivots? And ladies and gentlemen, remember too that we are here every Thursday at 4 p.m. And here now is the proverbial online cyberspace here. So in whatever mechanism and means, we'll be here from the
here. I must say I miss you though, having your presence, your immediate presence. It changes.
As you described, leading through the time, because we are used to a particular vibing off each other with physical presence, and we now have to learn a new way and treat this as physical presence.
Absolutely.
I also want to just mention before we wrap up, the PSOJ has a special COVID fund, and to donate to this fund, it's at the psoj.org/donate. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. I know that there are various funds that are happening at the same time, but this really is a time that we need to remember we are in this together. And being in this together, it means that every mickle make a muckle, and the little that I have, I can give some of it. So the fund is focused on food security and health. It is in fact very well managed through the PSOJ, United Way of Jamaica. The Council for Voluntary Services is actually co-chair, Safra Brown. and we have the involvement of the Jamaica Defense Force and their logistics in distribution. Now, this fund is up and running, and we're looking forward to your donations, because as Jamaicans, we know that it is our grit, our resilience, but also our fact of community and togetherness that will take us through this. So we encourage you to go to the PSOJ website and donate. There are several ways that you can donate. You can do credit card payments, check payments, direct bank transfer. But also, very importantly, as we're having this discussion about our small businesses,
Sorry, Rochelle, just one more piece to that.
Yes.
The PSOJ thinks about food security in two ways. One,
Yes.
of course, is a fund where we're trying to get money raised to help the people. We see as people potentially lose jobs or businesses close and so on, that is going to be a real core issue. The other thing that we is also going to be pushing quite aggressively is this whole idea of growing so that we can eat. We do not live in Canada. We do not live in cold North America. We have God's soil, God's sun, God rain. We can also grow things. If we should not ever be faced with the kind of starvation that people in winter are faced with. So remember, yes, we are used to having our money to do our little KFC, having our thing to buy our little thing, but that is one way to eat. The other way to eat is actively create communities of growers, right? Whether it is something small in your backyard, whether all of you get together to actually do something, plant a little callaloo, plant something. Remember, food security is about accessing healthy ways of eating, whether that is through donations that we or anybody else is able to give, but also where is the proper land? Your own. Let us not forget that.
That too is that we have a lot of local farmers, and we are encouraging you to buy our local produce. Buy local. We have poultry producers, beef producers, pork producers. We have farmers who are planting all kind of lovely green items. We need to support our local producers. Buying Jamaica not only builds Jamaica, but is going to sustain us all right now. And as Nevada said, we don't have any excuse with the sunshine. Let us grow and actually eat what we grow. Nevada, I am seeing now where several of our guests are asking for a program on leadership and management style during COVID. So we're really going to have to do something on that. And I see Carolyn Pinnock Jackson saying here that the session was very useful, clear, and effective, and she's motivated to actually do what she needs to do to pivot, to make a schedule and make change. So, for Carolyn and the rest of our viewers, can you just go back through what the various business pivots are so that people are clear? And just again, we just want to make the point that as we're going through the different categories, we have a little way as Jamaica, we love put people in a box and category.
Yes.
Pivoting is a combination of these variables. So you may have more of one variable and less of another, but we want you to look at all the variables so you can see different ways to pivot. So Nevada, take us back through the pivoting.
Yes. On that front, everybody should know, by the way, if you didn't know this, we actually send out an email before. How do I get this on the thing? Yeah, we always send out an email before the COVID cast, usually about the topic. So for example, this week our email is called Pivoting Your Business, and we go into detail about many of the concepts that we discuss. If you would like to be on our email list, please email us at sme@psoj.org. sme@psoj.org. And you will get a weekly email 1 or 2 days before the COVID cast. That way you're able to read and start to assimilate the information so you're already ready up to speed by the time you join the program. So again, this weekly email from the PSOJ, right? Okay, there are, as we have now analyzed and assessed, there are basically six types of business pivots. There is the operational pivot, which is the same, you're in the same line of business, but everyone is now working from home. There is the platform pivot. which is a new way of delivering the sales and service. For example, a physical store now becomes primarily an e-commerce store. There is a customer pivot where you have an entirely new customer focus. For example, a wholesaler goes direct to consumers, or a tutor sells services abroad using an online platform, right?
I had an example today of a swimsuit designer actually now being a mask designer.
Excellent, excellent, right? Then there's the collaborative pivot. The collaborative pivot is when you work with another business to jointly deliver a new offering. So, for example, we talked today with Banyan, the Easy Meals, and the possibility of joining wine and desserts from other people that she suddenly has. You can get a complete meal from her. You don't have to buy your wine somewhere else and then buy desserts from somewhere else. So again, that's the collaborative pivot. Work with other SMEs to deliver something more than you were delivering on your own. Fifth is what we call the complete business pivot. You're starting completely anew in the business that is in no way really related to the original one. It's just simply there's an emerging opportunity. We saw pest control, Zane pest control, now become cleaners. This is again similar type of buildings and stuff, but a different business completely. And last but not least, the sixth way to pivot is what we call the asset pivot. This is when you put your actual business aside and think about the assets that you have. Do I have cold storage facilities that I can sublet? Do I have trucks that I can sublet? Do I have a brand that I can put other people's products on my thing? Do I have a fantastic website that I can just put other people? Can I be a local Amazon by putting other people's product on my website, which is already functional, already e-commerce enabled, etc. Right? So the asset pivot takes you into entirely different new businesses by way of thinking about your assets.
So I think today we've really delved into some interesting points for persons to now consider. Yes. Where is my business? What is my business? How can I pivot this business, not just for COVID, but to thrive post-COVID? So this is an opportunity to really ask yourself, at this time, what are the problems that people have that I have the mechanisms to solve? What different can I do with this business to cause this business to thrive? And there is that analysis that you have to do. Brittany had mentioned that one of her friends, she made a mask. One of her friends said, the mask look good, do some more. Sometimes we also need to have somebody else, an external point of view, to look to at some of the assets that we have, to ask ourselves the question, what motor vehicles do I have? Do I have cold storage? Do I have a location? Judy Sutherland Benjamin asked about rental. And Nevada mentioned that there are some businesses now that may have had to move from where they were located, and you could provide storage in your business place. So there are various things that we can consider now. And the important thing, though, is that you do have to do that assessment. And there's a point where we have to kind of wake up from the COVID, because, you know, COVID has this kind of, it put this veil over our head that we just feel like nothing can happen now. And this is a time that many businesses are going to be born, many businesses are going to grow, and many will thrive. And you have to ask yourself, will I be counted among them? So we encourage you, please join us every week right here on our Facebook Live as we go through the various issues with our SMEs. We're going to have to do a show on management and leadership during COVID, so we're looking forward to that. With me this week again was our lead project architect, Nevada Powe. We will be utilizing this mechanism as we continue to social distance. We encourage you to go to the PSOJ website. Much of the material that we discuss is here. There's also, please, we would like you to join our mailing list. So please send us an email at SME at psoj.org. We're also encouraging you to utilize this as a time to join the PSOJ and join our advocacy efforts for businesses across this island of ours. And this is a time that we are buying Jamaica. We are building our local businesses because we know that our SMEs are the backbone of economic growth. So Join us again next week. Go to the PSOJ website, please. We'd like you to donate, because together we will be able to make it through with food security and with health, but with all the other initiatives, because we are going to make it to the other side of COVID. And we're going to do it victoriously. So ask yourself, how can I pivot my business? Rewatch this episode. Send in your questions. Share. Again, like, share, comment, because we want to continue this movement, because we're doing this together. So see you again next week on COVIDCASTJA.